Really small. Right, I'm calling the number again.
Okay.
Oh, Jesus Christ, that's loud.
Hello? Hello?
Hello, David?
Yeah, who's
Who's
this?
on? Hey, this is Laurie from the IZindle podcast. I spoke to your manager.
The manager about what?
I've just been speaking to your manager. You're due for an interview with us.
An interview for what?
So we are the IZindle podcast, and we just wanted to talk to you about everything you've done in your, in
Oh,
your whole life.
Okay. All right, that'll be fine. Yeah, okay. Oh,
Okay.
yeah. Okay. Okay, that'll be fine.
Lovely.
I just had another call come in at the same time you called. Can we make it brief? Because I've got. Is there any way possible you could call me back in the afternoon, like around 8 or 9ish? As that would be, I'd have more time then.
Do you know how many hours that would be? How many hours away that would be?
Okay, where are you calling from? Well, I could do some of the interviewing right now, but I have a job interview to go on, but I can do a little bit of the interview I did right now because I have to be somewhere at 10 o'clock.
I mean, yeah, so we have 10 questions, so, I mean, it could be pretty brief.
Okay, but if you want to call me back at 8, we can finish it.
Okay, so how many hours away is 8? Because I'm in the UK.
Oh, wow, in the UK. Oh, I don't know. Wow, but we could do. Why don't we do the 10 questions real fast, and you call me back for the other half?
Sure.
Around 8 o'clock. Okay.
Yep, sure.
Well, I was born and raised in Chicago. I could paint and draw ever since I was 6 and 5 years old.
Mm-hmm.
I started painting and drawing when I saw my favorite railroad, the Chicago North Shore and Milwaukee Railroad that ran from Milwaukee to Chicago. It was my first love for trains, and it was unjustly destroyed by its competition. The Milwaukee Road and the Northwestern didn't like its competition, and they bought stock into it and destroyed it. And they had a train that we called the Roadrunner train, called the Electroliner, that went 200 miles an hour, built in 1941. And the people that made the bullet train in Japan modernized it and made the bullet train. And it was ahead of its time, and that was my first love for trains. Then I went to Goodman Theater for acting as a child. Marjorie Lord, who was in the same Christian Science church my family was into, paid for my family to take a vacation to Los Angeles for me to read for the Andy Griffith Show in 1961. Marjorie Lord played Andy Griffith's, Danny Thomas's TV wife, and there was a show called Make Room for Danny, and the Andy Griffith Show was a spin-off from it. I was supposed to be Opie's best friend, and Danny Thomas paid. And Marjorie Lord paid for my for the vacation and wanted my family to move to California for me to be on the Andy Griffith Show with Ron Howard, who played Opie on the show. But my parents didn't want me to break into show business at an early age, and so I had to wait. And my parents paid for me to have take acting and ballet. I went to Goodman Theater for acting and theater, and then I went to the Art Institute in Chicago for art. I always had a love for art and music, and then my music career started. I started several people in my church, a woman named Zephra, and my grandmother who passed on many years ago. She taught me how to play organ and how to direct choir in her church, and then Zephyr taught me how to play organ in the Christian Science Church, and Joe Shurton to sing the difficult solo pieces at Eighth Church of Christ Scientists and Southern California, in Chicago, Illinois. I was born and raised in Chicago, and that church was Eighth Church was in Chicago on 44th in Michigan. It's now another denomination, but anyway, I still had a dream to come to California to become a famous actor, and I think I came to California in the 70s, and I got into different plays and theaters, and stand-up comedy with Robin Williams, and I got my own. I saw Robin Williams get a big break with Gary Marshall, but Gary Marshall was very mean to me, and Gary Marshall he said he had me to do the warm-ups for all his shows in the 70s, and he never cast me into anything. And then the actress Betty Garrett told him, "Why don't you give this African-American actor a chance?" And he told her if she'd asked again, she'd be written off Laverne and Shirley. She was written off Laverne and Shirley, and they moved the show like it was done in Hollywood, California, instead of Milwaukee, Wisconsin. And she said her husband faced a lot of persecution since he was an atheist, and Ronald Reagan got him blackballed from the business when he became president of Screen Actors Guild. And she said she didn't like when people, just because people have different views, they should be respected for any beliefs or practices they have in religion she didn't like it that the Republicans that ran Screen Actors Guild at the time were very prejudiced against her husband and got her husband blackballed from doing any acting or directing any TV shows. That's what I was told by Betty Garrett. And then Gary Marshall made a remark to me that he liked Robin Williams, but he didn't like his Daffy Duck friend David Liebe Hart doing stand-up comedy at the Comedy Store. And he says, I'm going to put Robin Williams into one Happy Days, and then I'm going to give him a spinoff called Mork and Mindy. Robin Williams was doing the same Mork act before he did Mork and Mindy, and he did stand-up comedy with me in that same act. And Gary Marshall was very mean to me. I did a lot of TV shows. Scatman Crothers, who played on Chico and the Man, got me a reading with a Comac production for Chico and the Man. I did a little bit of work on that, and then I did a couple of Norman Lear shows with Good Times. And then I kept on taking acting classes, and I took acting lessons with a guy named Basil Hoffman, who was a very talented actor who was in The Twilight Zone. And then Vivian Vance gave me free acting lessons, who played on I Love Lucy. And she let me do gardening and yard work at her house. She was a member of Fifth Church of Christ Scientists in Hollywood, California, and she was very supportive and very kind to me. And she faced jealousy from Lucille Ball, and she told me that herself when she was living. And then Lucille Ball got so jealous of her that she wrote her, only had her on the show once a year, and replaced her with Gail Gordon on her Here's Lucy and Life of Lucy and the Lucy Show, and was very mean to Vivian Vance. Vivian Vance had a spinoff from the I Love Lucy show called The Merce, and it wasn't on that very long, but Vivian Vance was very nice to me and supportive of me. And then another person who was very nice to me was Meredith McGray. She also gave me acting lessons and voice lessons and encouraged me to pursue my acting career, as well as Ethel, who played another Ethel that played the grandmother on the Cosby Show, who was and she was very nice to me, and then I don't know where she's doing now, but anyway. And then I did stand-up comedy, and then different nightclubs, and then I didn't become famous until I did the Tim and Eric Awesome Show, Great Job. Oh, yeah. And I did that show in 2004, and I toured with Tim and Eric all over the United States. Then I got into a band with a guy that was on my public access show called the Junior Christian Science Bible Lesson Show. I had famous Sunday school teachers in the Christian Science Church. I had Jim Henson. I had Bert Stilston, who did Kukla, Bren and Ollie, and I had the guy when I went to family reunions in Canada, who did a show called The Friendly Giant. And I did the Tim and Eric Awesome Show, great job, for 5 years, and then I did the spinoff, Check It Out, with Dr. Steve Brule for another 4, and then they gave me my own show called I Love David, which is going to be on the Channel 5 internet, and then they're going to put it on the on Adult Swim after it finishes airs on the internet. And I did 10 episodes of that, and they're being edited right now as we speak, and it's all about me. I'm disappointed in my own family. They don't, on my African American side, they don't come and support any of my
sorry about that.
My nightclub, and my Uncle Danny is not supportive of me like he should be. I got cheated out of my inheritance taking care of my Caucasian cousin in Los Angeles, Phyllis McKinnon, who was a retired Army officer. She was